So, hello
Uh,
there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I see people is joining. Can you s- confirm that you are listening to us? Hello, Miriam. Hello
hmm
from Lebanon. So, uh, okay, we're about to start.
Good.
People,
So I can see that, as usual, we have people from across the globe, right? Argentina and India, uh, Romania, Egypt. Great. That's very nice to have you here in our webinar. So I think we can start, Gustavo.
okay. Okay, so I'm going to kick off. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are joining from. And it's great to see so many of you here today. So, a very warm welcome to everyone. My name is Gustavo, and I'm part of the assessment team at Pearson. And today I'll be hosting along with Camille, will be hosting the final session of the Teacher Training Academy 2025. As
Mhm,
you may know, this year we have already delivered 10 sessions at the Teacher Training
mhm,
Academy so
mhm,
far. And today we are wrapping things up with our 11th and final webinar with the last session of the year delivered by Camille. He's
mhm.
going to introduce himself properly in just a moment. But before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping notes so everything runs smoothly throughout the webinar. This webinar will last around 1 hour. And at the end of the presentation, we'll have the time for Q&As. So questions that you may have, please type them in the QA box in your Zoom window. You can find it next to the chat box, and we'll make sure to answer them during the session. Your microphones are going to be turned off, so Camille can present without any interruption. Also, this webinar is being recorded and it'll be posted on the Academy website, so you can rewatch it later or share it with colleagues if you need it. So, at Pearson, as you can see in the slide, we offer a comprehensive portfolio of English language assessment and certification solutions. They are designed to support the needs of teachers and learners throughout their learning journey. Today, in our webinar, we'll focus specifically on international certification. And for this, we provide the Pearson English International Certificate, PEIC, which is aimed at validating real-world English skills. The certificate is widely recognized and accepted by ministries, government bodies, and universities across many countries around the world. So now, Camille, I'm handing it over to you if you want to start your presentation.
Thank you very much. And Gustavo, yes, but this is not only certification that we're going to talk about today. Don't worry, right? There will be something more than that today. So it's nice to have you here in my webinar. I suppose I have met most of you previously. I'm Camille Wright. I'm with Pearson for over 10, I've been with them for over 10 years right now. And my role is, well, to help teachers and examiners to well, teachers to become examiners for Pearson English International Certificate, and I'm also responsible for helping teachers get students ready for the certificate. I'm also, well, a teacher myself, and I also get my students ready for Pearson English qualifications. And today, well, as you know from the title, we're going to talk about writing an essay. So obviously, we'll be talking a little bit about certification, and we will be talking a little bit about a Pearson English certificate and writing an essay in this examination. But as I said, not only that, because, well, first we'll start discussing how you can provoke with essays. Well, that's the title of the session, Provoke with Write an Essay. And then we will have a look at what this task, write an essay, looks like in Pearson English International Certificate. Some takeaways, and as Gustavo mentioned, the very last part will be Q&A, so there will be some time to address some of the questions that you might pose. Obviously, Gustavo is there behind the scenes all the time, as he said, so he'll be answering your questions on the go. During the webinar, I will be asking some questions, right? And you also you not only have this Q&A panel, but you also have this chat panel, right? So let's also communicate with chat and answer my questions with the chat. So let's start with the first question then. Right, should we force students to write essays? What do you think? If you could share your ideas, and why not? So could you share it in your chat? Yes, because, or no, because. I wonder, right, what your take on it is, right? So, should we force students to write essays as teachers generally? Yes, yes. Unfortunately, yes. That's an interesting one. We should encourage them instead of forcing. That's a good point, right? It's important for grammar structures. Great. I'm going to talk about that because of the examination. Yeah, right. Well, because of brainstorming. Okay, to develop skills because it is necessary depending on the level of proficiency. It helps to concentrate. That's a good point. Because they learn to structure their ideas. Fantastic. Yeah. They need to incorporate formal writing from early stages. Uh, Good, right. So you have a lot of reasons, but mostly I can see that we should force students or maybe encourage students to write essays. Fine. Yeah, because I wasn't sure what you would say, because maybe you think that not. I'm a little bit sometimes I'm in two minds about it, to tell you the truth, if we should force students to write essays or not. Obviously, well, there are a lot of, let's say, advantages, right, of students writing essays. Something that you mentioned, obviously. So when students write essays, they definitely are encouraged to learn new vocabulary, new grammar, right, new language, right. So that's a great way of provoking them. We provoke with essays to learn new language, and that's definitely something that is well desired in an English classroom. Uh, Something that you also mentioned, what essays bring to the classroom is this skill of organizing ideas, using transitions, developing coherent arguments, the skills that are necessary not only in essay writing, but in any form of communication in a language. So when you force or you encourage, you didn't like this word force, when you encourage them to write essays, you bring in those skills into your classroom. Uh, I think, well, I'm sharing my ideas obviously here. I think that it's very important that writing essays actually promotes thinking directly in English, right? So they have the time to formulate ideas directly in English, right? And that generally strengthens this overall fluency, and that is then transferred into speaking. But with essays, with writing essays, they have this time to think in English and to formulate their thoughts in English. And last but not least, something that you mentioned is this exams, right? Or academic study or professional communication, right? So if you teach students, ESL students, in many cases, they will have to face some form of writing, longer form, like an essay, in some form of an exam, right? School leaving examinations, some high stakes examinations like Pearson English International Certificate, right? And then also in professional context. So you simply help them get ready to real life situations, right? Because writing an essay in many cases will become a real life situation. They have to do that in an exam, for example. Yeah, and I can see that, right, Lucia, you say that students don't want to write essays, right? Absolutely, you are right. And unfortunately, well, there are some, let's say, advantages of writing essays, but there are some challenges as well, right? That we have to, well, bear in mind, that we have to consider when we approach our students with writing an essay. So. Obviously, well, they don't want to write. One of the reasons might be that these cognitive linguistic demands can be overwhelming, especially with lower levels. When you start writing essays at level B1, right, that might be simply too much. They might feel overwhelmed, and well, we have to face that. Right? That's a challenge that might discourage them from writing essays. Uh, Writing essays, this is something that I can observe with my students, and this is something that a lot of students share with me, that writing essays might feel irrelevant or demotivating because they simply in real life they use more practical genres like messages, emails, short notes, something like that, right? And they don't see any relevance. Why should we write essays, right? If we don't use them in real life, they don't know yet that a lot of them they don't know it yet because they are still before some exams in which they have to write essays. Another challenge connected with writing essays is that generally writing, that proficiency develops slowly with writing, and that might reduce their engagement. They don't see progress immediately, right? And they get, well, discouraged by that. And last but not least, especially from my experience, because I work with students who are getting ready for some high stakes exam, like as I said, Pearson English International Certificate. Time pressure might be the challenge. So when they have to write in a classroom setting or exam settings, and it's not only the high stakes. I can see that more and more teachers these days, because of this AI development, they quit homework, giving writing essay for homework just because, well, a lot of students use AI tools to do that, so they prefer writing in class. So in class, there is always this time pressure, or in exam, that's this time pressure, and this can lead to well, the lack of motivation and poor quality of writing. So these are the challenges. Obviously, there are a lot of advantages, but there are some challenges we have to face. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it and focus on those challenges. And let's start with this first challenge that I mentioned, this cognitive and linguistic demands that might be overwhelming and might be discouraging for our students. How can we deal with that? And well, first of all, the best idea, right? If there is a overwhelming, especially cognitive demand, there is too much, right? There are a lot of so many processes that they have to manage when writing an essay. So why don't we chunk the process? So we break essay writing into some smaller steps. So, for example, we focus. You mentioned that we focus on brainstorming, right? On this moment or this element of writing an essay. Another day or with some other activity, we focus on good outline, how to prepare a good outline, introductory sentence, some hook sentence. Then we focus on body. Separately, we focus on conclusion. We just separate these elements of the process of writing an essay, and we focus on them separately. We on different occasions, even right on different days, and this way we reduce this cognitive load, I would say. Another method to deal with this or to face this challenge of this overwhelming cognitive and linguistic load is equipping students with some paragraph templates, right? So just showing them the template and asking them to work with the template, like topic sentence, example, explanation, linking sentence leading to another paragraph. And if they if they have this template somehow imprinted, I would say, and ready to use, it's much easier to them to manage this cognitive load. Or some activities in which they fill in the gap, right? So, for example, you give them paragraph and you remove some linking words in the paragraph, right? And they focus only on transition by focusing on the gaps that should be completed with linking words, for example. So one task, one aspect of essay writing at a time. Instead of writing full essays, you can start with, for example, practicing one strong thesis statement only, right? And you focus on that and you practice that. So there are a lot of methods in which you can break down this load of processes that they have to manage into smaller steps, smaller chunks. And an idea to that might help you chunk the process, to divide the process into smaller portions, as if to say, is an activity that I call essay relay. For this activity, you would need preferably teams of six. So you divide your group into teams of your class into teams of six, and within the team, right, a small team of six, you give each student a worksheet with an essay topic and a short essay structure, right? So preferably six elements. So you have the hook, the introduction, reason one, reason two, example two, that should be, sorry, not example three, and conclusion. And each student gets a separate worksheet with a separate essay topic, right? So let's say you have example of three essay topics and the same structure: hook, reason, example, conclusion. And what they have to do, they start with the hook. So each student in the group writes only the hook, the introductory sentence, and you set a time limit. Let's say, I know, 2 minutes for that. They have to focus on one element of essay writing at this very moment. And after that, when the time is up, they pass the worksheet to the next teammate, and then this is the round in which they each focuses on reason one. They have to give or write a sentence for reason one, obviously with a different essay and with a different topic. So through that, you simply divide the process into smaller chunks. At each round, they focus on a different task, on a different essay. So you separate, or you divide, as I said, this essay into smaller chunks. And this way, you continue passing until each team has produced 6 complete essays. So within the team of 6, you will get 6 complete essays. So they do write the essays, but this is divided into smaller chunks. They focus on a specific, very specific task each time, at each round. And then you can obviously analyze these and discuss, right, this process of essay writing. So I wonder, just to activate you a little bit, can you design a hook introductory statement for so the first sentence, this hook, this introduction for this worksheet, for this essay, which is shopping online is the most enjoyable way to buy products. Do you agree or disagree? I'm waiting for your suggestions, right? If you were to do that. So can you chat me with some ideas? A hook sentence, hook introductory sentence for this essay. Let's see. Let's see who comes up with the first idea. Right. You can share it on chat. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes there is some delay. Shopping online is fun. Oh, right. A short, to the point, right, a punch, a sentence, I would call it. In digital society, shopping online is a sign of, or I lost it, is a sign of times. Thank you, Irina, for that. Or Aleftina, have you ever bought anything without getting your feet wet? Fantastic, right? So this way, and this is how they work. They have to focus on one specific task in this round, just as you did here. And then, obviously, you move around, you get another worksheet with another topic, and then you focus on reason, right? You look at the hook or introductory sentence that somebody has produced in the team, and then you continue another essay. So this way, the essay is chunked, the essay writing is chunked into parts. Let me move now on. Thank you for all your fantastic sentences. Thank you for that. I can see now a lot of them. So another challenge that I discussed, that essays are irrelevant, right? Simply, well, in real life, we don't write essays. We write emails, we write messages. This is what students say. But who writes essays, right? So that might be the challenge that we have to face with essay writing. And well, obviously, to face it, one idea would be to gamify them, the essay writing, I mean, the essays, right? So turn essays into essay writing into some challenge, right? So give them some timed tasks. Or, for example, I give my students a task in which I give them some connectors and they get 1 point for using every connector from my list, right? And that's some kind of competition if they manage to use as many connectors as possible from the list I give. Or some competition in which they have to create, they have to make creative hooks, just like you did a second ago. Debate, right? If you are supposed to write an essay, or your students are supposed to write an essay because this is in your, I know, syllabus, or you have to, or you're getting students ready for some high stakes exam. Debate, right? Start essay writing from I know, debate or a short poll, discuss with students, right? So raise their interest in the topic, in the thing that they're going to write about. And then you can convert arguments into some suggested essay paragraphs. Or incorporate students, so encourage them to suggest topics for you, something that they would like to write about, or let them. This is what I very often do. I let my students, because if you work with course books, there are some essay topics or prompts given in a course book, for example, but let them modify that, change that, right? Maybe you don't like that, maybe discuss that with your students, and then you will get them engaged in this process of essay writing. So, just some idea how to actually gamify essay writing process, something that I like doing with my students. I prompt AI tools for some funny, provocative phrases, right? If you prompt your AI, right, to give me some funny, provocative phrases, you might get phrases like that. So look at those phrases that I got actually from an AI tool when I prompted AI to give me some funny, provocative phrases, right? So that's a quick thing you can do. And how do you think you can use these phrases to gamify essay writing process? Any ideas? How can you use these phrases for gamification of essay writing process? I wonder if you have any ideas here. Uh, okay. Right. I'm looking at my chat. Typically, there is some delay in the chat, so uh, okay. Any ideas? You get such sentences from an AI tool, and how can you gamify essay writing? Hmm. Okay, right. So I think there is some. Yeah, I can see no chats. Maybe. All right, now they start. You can ask students to bring up real examples that illustrates the idea. Okay, for example, thank you, Rosanna, for that. Okay, that could be used. Karina, I believe is a way. This is a way to make them brainstorm. Right? That's a nice idea. Maybe by asking groups to compare right examples. Okay. What I do, I bring these sentences into my classroom and I give one sentence to every student, right? So you can produce a lot of sentences like that. And then, well, to make it a little bit, yeah, give essay writing a twist. I ask them to write a short essay, right? For example, there is a topic, there's a prompt in the course book. So write this essay, but your task is to hide your sentence that I am giving you right now. Hide in your essay, right? So they have to put the sentence, right? Somehow, I mean, incorporate the sentence into the text. You can set a time limit if this is if you're doing that in class, right? You set a time limit, and after that, students can exchange in pairs. For example, they exchange texts, the essays, and they read the partner's essay, and they try to find the hidden sentence. So this way, you provoke creativity because if they want to hide the sentence in their essay, they have to make this essay, all the text around it, as if to say, a little bit similar to this provocative, right, funny way of formulating ideas. So this is how I do it. How well you can easily gamify. And that can work with any essay prompt that you have. Any actually not only essay, but any longer text that you have to write. You bring in those funny phrases. Challenge three that we discussed, that I mentioned that this challenge for me in my classes, in my classroom, this is that students uh, don't feel they progress, right? So they have low confidence. They don't see that they are improving. So that makes them discouraged. And how can we deal with that? Obviously, what I do, I try to keep samples of writing, and anytime it's possible, I show them some samples to show them, for example, after one semester, at the end of the semester, look how much progress you have made here. For example, how much better your text from the beginning of the semester is from the text at the end. So showing them the samples of their writing, if possible, obviously. You can focus on small goals only, right? So just as I mentioned, one week you practice a thesis statement, so you focus on that, right? And if the goal is small, right, you can easily show them improvement, show them the progress that they make. Another week you work with topic sentences and you show them how they have improved with topic sentences, for example, instead of the whole essay writing process. Make your students reflect, right? So give them samples, for example, of the writing from the beginning of semester and from the end of semester, and ask them to point out, right, so that they can notice where they are better than they used to be. Right. And last but not least, I call it confidence boosts. Right. So some activities that give quick wins that they can immediately see. For example, add three connectors to paragraph, or some vocabulary practice for a given topic in an essay, which is an activity that I will share right now. I call it alphabet race. This is an activity in which, yeah, this is this what I call confidence boost kind of activity. So this activity in which they immediately learn something. They see, okay, we have learned some vocabulary, for example, for this and this topic of an essay. So what I do, I give them each team, let's say team of two or team of three. They work together, and I give them worksheet or sheets of paper with the alphabet letters. Not all of them, right? Some set of alphabet letters, and I give them a topic of an essay, right? For example, the one that we're working on right now, or we're going to work on right now in this moment of our course. And they, in groups, they bring some vocabulary that they might use in this essay. So they have to come up with words starting with each letter from the list. So if you have A, B, C, D, so they have to come with a word that starts with A, with B, with C, with D, that can be used for this particular topic. And obviously the first group that finishes this race, because that's a race, right, are the winners, but they have to be ready to justify their words. So that's a quick confidence boost, I would say. So they immediately learn something in a group. They learn some new words. They can take these words then later on and use them in the essay writing. And I wonder if you would be able, right, to suggest some words for the topic above, right? So can you suggest some words starting with F, H, and L, right? So look at the topic, right? I'm sorry. Yeah, and as you can see, the topic is when it comes to achieving success in life, hard work plays, food, health, learning, right? Okay, F, H, and L, fantastic. Hard work, holistic development. Okay, but this is development. Benefits, F, H, and L. So benefit is not counted here. Long term, okay, right. Fantastic. That's definitely useful for this essay. Learning goals, finding, mingling with high achievers. Okay, right. So thank you, Med. Isana, fast growth. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is how they do. This is a race, so they do it very quickly, right? They have a set of words, set of vocabulary, then they can use it for essay writing. They learn together, right? So this is this confidence boost because they immediately learn. You can add a twist to that. Thanks for that. Thanks for your ideas. I can see a lot of fantastic ideas. You can add a twist to that, and you can, for example, we talked about those of you who attended read and write session. We talked about global scale of English teacher toolkit, right? So, for example, you can ask your students to go to the teacher toolkit and see who gets the highest GSE score, right? Because in global scale of English, you have a lot of vocabulary that is somehow classified, right? So they get a score from 10 to 90, depending how which level of language, let's say, this is on a scale from 10 to 90. And you can ask them to check, right, how high on the global scale of English the words are, right, and who gets the highest GSE score, for example. You can add this twist, and obviously you can use the QR code that I'm sharing with you in the slide. You can find this teacher toolkit. This is a great tool for generally planning your classes, right, and matching grammar, vocabulary to a specific level. So we talked a little bit about it in some previous sessions. So once again, I wanted to turn your attention. It could be used for this activity. So they can measure the GSE score there. And the last challenge that I mentioned, that is time pressure, right? So it's very often connected with essay writing because very often they have to write essays in, as we mentioned, some school leaving exams or high stakes exam, international certificates, or in a classroom. So there is this time pressure factor, which might be the challenge when writing an essay. and obviously how we can deal with that. So you can simply, well, teach them time management techniques, right? So show them how much time they have to use on brainstorming, planning, then preparing outline, then writing, then editing, right? So that's the simplest time management technique, so that they know exactly how much time they need and how much time is necessary for that. Well, I always teach my students to focus on the most important parts first. So, writing doesn't have to be linear, right? You can, I mean, students can focus on, for example, they write the thesis or I don't know, the introductory statement, then and conclusion to be paired up with that, some topic sentences if you have a longer essay in which you have some paragraphs. So, starting with that and then completing that with the rest, as if to say, of the content. So that's also that helps to manage time because they get the structure, they get the framework first, and then they complete it. Or I always tell my students to focus on draft first and perfection later, right? So write as you wish, right? Don't worry about mistakes, anything like that, right? Just write, keep writing, and then obviously leave some time for editing at the end, right? So that's one of the management techniques that I'm aware of this time elapsing, and I know that I have to leave, I know, 2 minutes or 5 minutes, depending on how long the test is for editing. And also equip students with templates, something I've already mentioned, right? So they are aware of the classic outline template for an essay that we have, right? Introduction, then 3 body paragraphs and conclusion, for example, or some templates for thesis statements or conclusions, right? So conclusions can start with "in conclusion, it is clear that," something like that. So these are the ways with which we can deal with a time pressure challenge when writing essays. And here's some activity that I often play with my students that somehow, well, faces them with this time pressure and, for example, and also teaches them to brainstorm more efficiently, I would say. You can prepare cards with familiar opinion-friendly topics, things like, I know, as you can see, remote work, animal testing, public transport versus cars. So, well, classic opinion, I would say, topics. And then students work in pairs and give each pair a face down set of those topics plus a timer, right? Or they can use their phones, obviously, to count, to check the time, obviously, to measure the time. And student A flips a card and shows it to student B, for example, public transport versus cars. And student B has, I don't know, probably the best time is 10 seconds, maximum 10 seconds, to express an opinion and give one reason to that. So, for example, public transport is better than cars because it doesn't contribute to congestion in the city center, for example, right? So this is something they have to do very quickly. Express opinion and give reasons. So brainstorming and time pressure. This is what we are practicing at the same time. Obviously, student A times the response and awards a point if completed on time, obviously. So this is competitive, some kind of a match, we could say. And they switch roles and they continue through the set. You can choose one of the topics after that and write a short paragraph or short essay to support their opinion. So let's see how you're doing with that. So I am showing you the opinion. Remote work is ineffective. Can you give the reason to that opinion? Right, I am here turning on the time. So I'm going to time the response 5 seconds and we'll see who comes up with the reason first. That's it. Right, 5 seconds. Okay, it lowers your efficiency. Thank you, Mead. You were the first one. And Parvinder, cause loneliness and homesickness. Okay, great, fantastic. So Mead and Parvinder, we were the first, the quickest. Here, congratulations. And this is all about the time. Yes, you have to be really, really quick here to exert this time pressure on them so that they can feel right this time pressure and at the same time brainstorm ideas. So this is what they learn. So these are the challenges for essay writing. Now I'd like to move on to and to a little bit a look at the task, the Pearson English International Certificate task, which is writing an essay, right? So just a little bit about it, because, well, typically you write essays in some kind of exams, right? And obviously this is what happens in Pearson English International Certificate. They have to write, the test takers have to write an essay at levels B1, B2, C1, and C2. So what they have, and because this is a computer-based test, so what they will see this window with the prompt, right? They have 10 minutes to write a response, right? And there is this window where they added the response. The prompt is 1 to 2 sentences, and they have to write an essay that is 75 words for levels B1 and B2. And which is 100 words for level C1, C2. So that's a very, very short essay. As a matter of fact, that's an essay in the form of a paragraph, one paragraph essay, practically speaking, because this is a very short word limit. So this is what I like about it, because it's not discouraging. They don't have to write a very long form. That's a short essay, and this is 10 minutes. So this is not very challenging, I would say, task for my students. If you scan the QR code, you can watch a short video presenting this task. And well, typically, what criteria should be used to assess an essay? Because I'd like to discuss the criteria that are used in this essay. So, what criteria should be used to assess an essay? What do you think? What criteria do you typically use when you assess essays? Content. Okay, thank you, Parvinder. Okay, anything else? Cohesion, right. For organization, spelling, right. Logic, coherence, fantastic. Yeah, so these are typical structure, Aleftina. Thank you for that. And Douglas, vocabulary. Yeah, so these are typical criteria used to assess an essay, and as you will see, it's very similar here. Because in Pearson English International Certificate, we have 7 criteria that are used to assess an essay. And this is grammar, this is vocabulary, this is spelling, things that you have mentioned. This is general linguistic range, right? Development, structure, and coherence, formal requirement, and content. These are 7 criteria. Just let me have a quick look at 4 of them, right? Because grammar, vocabulary, spelling, these are classic ones that are very often used, so we don't have to discuss that. But let's just explain what these criteria represent. So general linguistic range, development, structure, and coherence, formal requirement, and maybe content, just to discuss it. So when it comes to general linguistic range, this is the name of the criterion that is used. So, and it's rated from 0 to 2. So what do you think? What should the response be like to be rated 2 for general linguistic range? What do you think? Could you please share your ideas in the chat? Academic vocabulary, all right, register. I think good structure. All right, so this is from Gaia. A wide range of structures from Muhammad. Thank you for this. Right. Proper language, wide length of linguistic resource. Okay. Properly structuring. Obviously, structuring is a separate criterion here, right, in this exam. So general linguistic structure, yeah. So to be rated 2, you have to have wide range of language, formulate thoughts precisely, give emphasis, differentiate, eliminate ambiguity, and there should be no sign that the test taker had to restrict what they wanted to say. This is the maximum for general linguistic range. Right, one is obviously a sufficient range of language, and zero is mainly basic language, lacks precision, or there is no response. That's zero. When it comes to development, structure, and coherence, what about that? What should the response be like to be rated 2 for development, structure, and coherence? An idea, right. Clarity, structure. Thank you, Carolina. And sticking connectiveness, right, from Muhammad. Absolutely. Organization of ideas from Eva, right. Thank you. If I pronounce your names not correctly, sorry for that. So yeah, obviously you are rated to if the essay shows a good development and logical structure, and it's when it's less well structured. This is 1 and 0 if this lacks coherence. List of loose elements. These will be assessed 0. And content, well, how should the content be rated? Obviously, well, it's rated 3 when the essay is adequately deals with the prompt, right? So everything that was in the prompt is covered in the text, right? So there is no omission, I would say. When the essay deals with the prompt but omits one minor aspect, this is 2. When it omits many aspects, it's 1. And obviously, if the essay does not properly deal with the prompt, the grade is obviously 0. And the last assessment criteria, this is formal requirement. And my question is, do you remember what the formal requirement is for this task? I wonder if you remember. I've already mentioned that. So what is the number of words? Thank you, Karina. Right? Fantastic. Yes, the number of words. So obviously, if the essay is written in the tolerated word limit, right, it gets 2 points. If this is outside the tolerated word limit, then it's 1. And when it's very low number of words, or it's too long, simply speaking, as you can see the numbers in the slide, then there will be 0. So the only formal requirement is the number of words. The number of words for B1, B2 is 75 words. For C1, C2, it's 100 words, right? This is the number of words, the word limit, but obviously there is some tolerance here. But, well, all in all, this is a relatively short form still, because it's 75 or 100. So that's a very short essay. So, how to approach a task, some suggestions. If you were to give your students some suggestions how to approach the task, write an essay in Pearson English International Certificate, that now that you know the assessment criteria, you know what prompts look like. So what would you say? Any suggestions for some advice for your students? What, for example, if your student asked you, dear teacher, tell me, what should I do to get ready for write an essay in Pearson English International Certificate? I'm looking at chat, waiting for some advice from you. Check the spelling. Fantastic. Brainstorm your ideas. Good. Thank you, Maya. Irina, topic, sentence, argument, examples, conclusions. So structure your essay. Improve your vocabulary range. Thank you from Mead. Make a plan. Write the structure, right? From Mariana, content words, planning again, Claudia. Exactly, right? So these will be some suggestions. So typical suggestions that I give to my students, it's make sure you fully understand what the prompt is asking, right? Understand the prompt, right? So that you write exactly what the task is prompting you to do. Include 4 elements. So introduction, reason 1 plus example, reason 2 plus example, and conclusion, right? So you have, practically speaking, 1 paragraph, let's say 100 words only. So that's a very short form. Make sure your essay meets the minimum word count, right? Which is 75 or 100 words, depending on the level. You mentioned that, right? Thank you for that. So spend a few minutes noting your main opinions, supporting reasons and examples. So planning, brainstorming, as you mentioned, right? Remember transition words, firstly, in addition, for example, right? These make your essay flow logically, and take a few minutes to check your essay for grammar, spelling, punctuation. You also mentioned that. So these are the six tips, the most important tips for our students. So this is what the write an essay task looks in Pearson English Exam International Certificate. And that brings me to, well, some key takeaways I'd like to leave you with after my webinar. So, the first, well, focus on progress, not perfection, right? So highlight improvements. We talked about it so that they feel more encouraged, right? So specific improvements in structure, connectors, vocabulary, this will keep your students motivated. Well, if you make writing essays relevant, right? You will also increase the motivation and engagement. So modify prompts, incorporate students in that process so that they can write their own prompts. Use different kinds of games, races, matches, relays, flashcards, things like that, right? So this is always additional motivation for your students, especially for a task that requires additional motivation, because writing is, it's typically a difficult process, long and difficult process for your students. So they need this extra pinch of motivation, I would say. And obviously, simulate exam conditions if it's possible, time drills, teach techniques to manage time. I know quick outlining, brainstorming, drafting, all those things that I mentioned, because very often they have to write essays in some kind of timed condition in an exam in a classroom. And some activities, something that I suggest you do in your next 2, 3 classes if you are teachers. So some kind of homework from me. So focus another class when you focus on writing, focus on teaching to write a strong thesis statement, for example. So provide the students with a prompt, with a topic of an essay, and show them how to write this hook sentence, this first introductory sentence that we practiced here today. So ask your students to suggest an essay prompt, right? So what would you like to write about for our next homework, for example? Or hold a class voting to choose one that will be used as a homework task. Run some confidence boost activity. Provide your students with a paragraph, right? And ask them to complete this with 3 connectors to improve the flow of this paragraph. For example, and you can play a paraphrase match. Give your students very little time and ask them to paraphrase a sentence, right? So to create paraphrases so that they work under timed conditions. So that's the homework for you. So this is about essay writing, and now over to Gustavo for a little bit of information on what the next steps for this teacher training academy are.
Yeah, thank you so much, Camille, for these great sessions, all the ideas, all the tips, all of them very useful and practical. And we can take them straight into our classrooms, where we're preparing students for PEIC or working on writing skill more generally. So thank you so much for this session. As you said before we close, just a few next steps that I'd like to share with all of you. Within the next 24 hours, you'll receive a short feedback survey. We'd really appreciate it if you could take a few minutes to complete it, sharing your thoughts on today's sessions and on the academy overall. You'll also be able to suggest topics, themes, or products that you'd like us to include in the 2026 Teacher Training Academy. Sorry. So your feedback is incredibly helpful and valuable to shape our future sessions. In terms of the certificates, there were a couple of questions that I was answering during the session. In the next month, those of you who attended all four Provoke webinars will receive a certificate of participation. We don't issue certificates for this session only. You need to attend the whole series. And if you attended at least 7 of the 11 sessions this year, you'll also receive a participation certificate for the complete academy and a credit badge, which you can share on social media, you can add to your LinkedIn profile or include on your CVs. So if you want to go to the last slide, Camille, we're almost at
Yeah, sure,
time, but
right. Yes, this is yeah.
we now are opening the Q&A section. If you have any questions you'd like us to answer, you can drop it in the Q&A box. We have one question from Hakim.
Uh-huh.
He says, while writing an essay, there is this obstacle of writing about something for the most part, about something you are not interested in. How can the teacher cope with this psychological problem to prompt the student to write without that feeling that they don't succeed in writing an appropriate essay for they are not interested in the topic?
Yeah, yeah, this is actually, yeah, that's a common problem, absolutely, right? So very often, this is the feedback that I get from my students that they're very often not in, I mean, they have to write things that they're not interested. Obviously, if you can do anything about it, which means if this is your classroom, and you can do things that I mentioned today. For example, you can debate with your students and you can incorporate your students and say, okay, don't like the prompt. How could you modify the prompt to make it more interesting for you? Or you can gamify that, right? For example, you add a hidden sentence, funny hidden sentence that they have to incorporate, I mean, hide in the text. So if you can do that, if it's up to you, if this is your class, if this is your in your classroom, then you can do a lot to make it more interesting for them. But if this is let's say an exam situation, right? So they go and they have to take a high stakes exam, and they get topics that might not be interesting for them. So what I tell my students, it's well, treat it with a little bit of twist, right? Especially if these are higher level students. I know C1, maybe already B2 as well. So treat it with a little bit of twist. Maybe make it provocative, right? If you say if there's a topic, essay topic that should people use public transport only, right? So you can be really strong about, for example, no, they shouldn't, right? And you can give a lot of strange arguments. Be provocative. You don't have to write what you really think, right? But make it, as I said, strong thesis, strong arguments, extreme always, also. But this way you can make it a little bit more attractive. But this is when you have no influence on that. I mean, when they have to write essays in an exam. But if this is your classroom, yeah, you can do a lot, right? You can modify a lot. And I talked today a little bit about how to do that.
Great. Thank you so much, Camille, for your answer. Your explanation has been
Mhm.
a great session. So I think we're at time. So to wrap up and close the year, I'd like to thank you, all of you, for your participation, for your engagement and
Thank you very
support
much.
throughout the year. And we wish you a lovely end of the year. Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate it, and a great
Mhm.
start to 2026. Thanks again for being here with us today, and we hope to see you again next year. Have a wonderful rest
Hope
of your day.
hope to
Thank you
see you
all.
next year, right? That was
Goodbye.
great having you. Thank
Yeah,
you. Bye bye.
yeah. Bye bye. Take care.